You are listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James.
A level-headed movie critic meets a loudmouth movie cynic. And action!
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today, James, what are we doing?
Bird Box!
Bird Box! Bird Box!
Bird Box, Kyle.
Bird Box! Bird Box. Bird Box.
Tell them about the challenge.
A movie, Bird Box. And today we are doing the Bird Box Challenge. This whole podcast is being recorded blindfolded.
Shit, isn't that wacky, folks?
We are blindfolded.
Look at us stumble about. Oh, there goes the Lucky Podcast pencil.
Uh-oh.
Almost spilled my Lucky Podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Water.
Watch out. Oh, I hit the bell.
You hit the podcast bell.
I hit the bell. And you too can enjoy this podcast blindfolded as well. What a great experience that would be for everybody.
I can't wait to see the comments. People all listening blindfolded doing stupid shit.
How immersive.
Hopefully you don't get hit by a car in traffic.
That's right.
Bird Box.
Bird Box. Bird Box.
Kyle,
Bird Box.
Phones. Go for it.
Bird Box. Bird Box. Bird Box. So, first of all, my first thought is, wow. Because it seems like every single person on the planet was talking about this movie online. Why the hell did everybody see this? Was it literally because Netflix just posted it on the front page and made you listen to that like crazy intro? And like, you know how you go on the front page of Netflix and it just starts trailers playing now and everything. And it was just up there blasted out in front of everybody. I feel like that's why everybody saw it, right?
Well,
it's
probably.
So pushed into your face you can't avoid it.
I probably got this online somewhere, so apologies to whatever source I'm ripping off from. But a marketing campaign unlike Netflix has done in the past, in that they started releasing viewership numbers like, hey, guess how many people have downloaded Bird Box?
6 trillion!
Or streamed it, I should say, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, I think ever, they started talking about that. So they build their own momentum and internal hype like that. And then word of mouth takes it from there. And just a lot of, fucking lying and bullshit about the quality.
Yeah, it was very weird. And
marketing hype, overhyped.
Marketing hype for sure. And I remember a few, maybe it was a year ago or something, when the next Cloverfield thing came out. Do you remember the Cloverfield Paradox or whatever that was? It was another Netflix thing.
Yep.
And they were like, we're going to drop a special trailer during a football game, the Super Bowl,
right?
And then you can watch it after the Super Bowl. And of course, I fucking watched it after the Super Bowl because I'm a plebe robot.
And, Kyle?
And it was garbage.
Yeah, I didn't
Absolute, total fucking garbage.
Well done.
Yeah, total garbage.
Well,
Cloverfield Paradox.
This is something that I'm not an insider on the movie industry, despite the wild success of my podcast life. I'm not an insider. I don't know how this shit works, but I get the feeling that movies are made, and if they're not anticipated to make the cut in the theater, like, this will not do well at the box office, then Netflix buys the rights. Netflix is kind of becoming a dumping ground for movies that wouldn't make the cut. Like, I heard that the Cloverfield movie was like borderline shitty, that it wouldn't make the Sci-Fi Channel.
Wow.
No?
That's rough.
And that's kind of where I throw Bird Box, no offense, to get into it.
So here's, it's now let's put a grade on Cloverfield Paradox. What do you grade it?
I
F?
can't. I didn't see it.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're out of time, so that was our Cloverfield Paradox review. Okay, now Bird Box.
Yeah.
So here's my deal with Bird Box. I thought that some aspects of it were great.
Yeah.
Some examples are the cinematography. I thought was interesting most of the time. Some acting was okay. I thought Sandra Bullock overall did a pretty good job with the material that was there. The story was fine. And it was kind of interesting, the idea that they started with. And I liked that the focus of the story was about essentially her journey becoming a parent, more or less, and kind of developing and figuring out what types of skills and what being a parent meant to her. Those were the good things that I thought.
Fair enough. Can I do some good things and then we'll nitpick the shit out of this thing?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. I thought part of the success, to sort of tie it back to the comments earlier, part of the success could be explained by the fact that it could be a fun winter movie watch.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you get a couple of, in my case, the honey baby and I were watching it on New Year's Eve. We're huddled on the couch. It's a cold night. We got hot chocolate and popcorn, and we're overreacting to the tension, and so you can have fun with the movie. You know, you can cringe up when the blindfolds are on because you don't know what's waiting for them. You ask the questions, what's happening? Why is that guy allowed to live? Da, 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 da. You know, you try to piece together. So it can be a fun experience in watching it. You know, so I can appreciate that. I thought some of the tension building was good. Last thing I'll say that I thought was good for now, and then we'll keep the conversation going, was I felt like the apocalyptic feel, the sort of sweeping across the globe of an unexplained phenomenon that's taking down large swaths of the human population. I feel like, for once it was just kind of handled pretty well in the movie,
Yeah.
Because you think about, really, this is just a much better version of The Happening,
Mm-hmm.
This is like...
Absolutely, yeah.
This is A Quiet Place meets The Happening.
Meets The Happening, yeah. And everybody kept comparing it to A Quiet Place, and I haven't even seen The Happening, but...
Oh, my God, me neither.
After I watched the Saturday Night Live skit about it, where Andy Samberg talks to plants or whatever, I was like, what the hell is this? And then I read all about it. I don't know why more people aren't comparing it to that movie, because that seems like...
I think they are.
But then the sensory deprivation aspect made everybody immediately go to A Quiet Place.
Yeah, and so I told the honey baby after we watched it, I said, it's like, this is a low budget version of A Quiet Place dumped onto Netflix, and she didn't see The Quiet Place. I was like, oh, we're gonna watch that because that is, if you thought this movie was good, and she did, it's like A Quiet Place is a million times better than this fucking movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's
10-second plot summary. There's a weird thing that's spreading across the globe, maybe demons, who knows, that when you see them, you want to kill yourself, and then you do kill yourself for the most part, unless you're insane, in which case then you try and force other people to look at the stuff and kill themselves. And Sandra Bullock ends up running around and taking care of 2 children and trying to get them plus a group of people to safety somewhere. And then, spoiler alert, they end up getting someplace. And there's a bunch of, hey, blind people that aren't affected by the demons, and so they survive. And everybody's thrilled. The end. So there's your 10-second plot summary.
Well done.
So what did you hate about it?
Well, first of all...
This ruined horror movies for me. No.
Before we get into what I didn't like about it, I'll tack on another thing I did like about it, and that is they didn't feel the need to over-explain the demon. Now, you could go either way with this one because by the time you get to the end, the lack of explanation starts catching up to itself because the demons appear to be capable of some things and not other things. Like, suddenly they're in their heads, putting voices in their fucking heads, where earlier they can't enter houses, but they could shake cars. It's like, well, all right, so there's some fucking... tiny fucking plot holes associated with what the demons can and can't do. But I like that they didn't get too deep into it because maybe we'll do this on a future review. That's why I felt like Hereditary, where it became unraveled. They're trying to explain the shit out of that fucking thing. It's like, just leave it as some curse that passes on through the bloodline. That's it. So I kind of like that. But what did I not like about Bird Box? Well, I thought the acting sucked. I thought that the structure of breaking up a timeline and, shout out to the Nolan brothers because I fucking have torn them a new one for this one before. And that is, your movie doesn't become artificially more interesting just because you tell it in a fragmented storyline. And in fact, in this movie, it served to deflate all the tension because we know that none of those fucking people will be around at the end.
Exactly.
So why do I care about Rod from Get Out, the black guy with the glasses, when I know he's not around, and I know that the heroic black guy that she hooks up with I think he's the guy from Moonlight, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, just fucking cock diesel, that guy, man.
Yeah.
He's not making it to the end. I know all this because they started the movie at the end.
Yeah.
I know it's just going to be Sandra Bullock and the 2 kids. So anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Tension deflating.
I watched this with my wife, Kira, and while we were...
wife.
Hey, look at that. Time passed. I wonder why it was hard to keep up with the podcast every week for...
a year
for 3 years of running in a row. Anyway, we watched this, and it was funny because at one point I said, wow, I wonder who's going to, make it. And she looked at me and she was like...
Stupid.
Nobody's going to make it. And I was like, what? She's like, don't you remember right at the beginning they showed that scene? Nobody's going to make it. And then I, of course, justifying my stupidity, was like, well, maybe they go someplace else and she walks, and takes the kids and goes on a different path or whatever.
Right.
But no, it was very much telegraphed after that point on, and as they started doing the old classic slasher movie, one drops at a time strategy, that everybody was going to die, and it did deflate a lot of tension from there.
A lot of tension.
I agree.
I felt like you mentioned her journey to parenthood, right? Mm-hmm. I felt like that was really heavy-handed.
That was the whole movie. That was like all they tried to do.
Yeah, but right from the get-go, her sister, whoever that lady was.
Yeah.
You're not so good at this.
Very unnatural dialogue between the sisters, which I thought was very weird.
And then Kyle, perhaps the most awkward fucking thing I've ever seen in a movie in my life. She named the children. What did she name them?
Oh, I can't even remember. But
come on. For the whole movie until she gets to the end, she calls them boy and girl.
Boy and girl, but then when they get to the end, what does she name them?
Olivia, and she names them after the guy from Moonlight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And his name was, a good name. So she eventually gives them good names. But to show just how detached she was and how unmotherly.
Boy and girl, yeah.
Kyle, that is the most heavy-handed, awkward shit.
It very much had a... it wanted to be more symbolic than it wanted to be a realistic... like apocalyptic type of film situation. Have you seen The Road?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that movie while I was watching it for whatever reason.
Obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons. Apocalyptic,
single parent, yada yada.
Yeah, and what you're saying, like everything John Malkovich said and did, and like their group did in their homestead area, felt like it was supposed to just be a big metaphor for like trying to get along in the world with different types of people that have to like coexist. And so I was so distracted by that the whole time, instead of anybody putting forth any sort of realistic reactions to the actual scenario.
Well, Kyle, I'm glad you said that, because like I said earlier, I kind of just enjoyed this as a fun New Year's Eve watching experience.
I was spooked a couple of times.
Yeah.
I was startled and spooked. And I had fun watching it, honestly.
Yeah.
If we're being real, I totally had fun watching it.
But here's the thing. It was fun to watch. I think it could have been more fun, and I think it betrayed how low budget the movie was, because they built up that tension, and then their payoff wasn't always necessarily that shocking or gory or thrilling. Like, a lot of times they sort of gave you a little bit of a soft landing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sure, she swings a machete and hits the guy in the arm, but sometimes the payoff was a little tame. Mm-hmm. Firmly landing PG-13 territory.
Yeah.
Whereas A Quiet Place, woof. Mm-hmm. So that to me is a difference in production value.
Yeah.
And that's where, as far as I'm concerned, you can detect that Bird Box is lower budget. Because they don't have the special effects, they don't have the sound editing capabilities and so on and so forth to make it really hit home.
Yeah.
But here's a big point, unless you wanted to say something about that.
The only thing I was going to say is that while the movie itself was, a Netflix original or whatever they're going to call it, I feel like this movie in this iteration of it probably could have been released in the theaters, and probably would have been more critically panned if it was released in theaters, as opposed to being something that just kind of like when that YouTube album showed up on everybody's phones randomly and people were outraged and like, what the fuck, this is just in my home in my life now. I feel like that's what this movie is. It's like it just found its way into everybody's home through Netflix and was just there, and then just became like a conversation point for everybody to talk about.
Yep, and you don't get mad. You don't get as mad at something, or you don't subject it to the same critical analysis because if you got it for free,
right? And you're in on it, and everybody's in on it. So.
But here's something I want to say. We agree then. We agree that we had fun watching it, right?
I sure did.
And I know that in my conversations with people at work and stuff like that, different workplace from Kyle now, by the way. I said, I mean, I kind of had fun with it. I didn't subject it to analysis because this guy I was talking to, he wanted to analyze it, like blind faith versus this, that, and the other thing in the society. Like you mentioned, the microcosm society existing in that mansion and so on and so forth. I was like, I haven't subjected this to some analysis. But then later on I did, and here's what I got from you.
Okay.
I got for you. Ready? I find it interesting that this movie can be argued as both being pro-religion and anti-religion at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
What do I mean by that? Maybe I'm going to introduce you to something new.
Yes, please do.
You survive the demons and whatnot by being blind and going essentially, at least through phases in the journey, being blindly faithful in a message. Yeah. Come to the sanctuary, follow the river. Don't, there's going to be rapids and you have to just be blind the whole time.
Also, if I'd heard that message, I would not have gone there.
No, fuck that. Stay in the grocery store.
That was creepy as shit, the way that the message came through.
Yeah, go live in the grocery store.
Go live in the grocery store.
Morons. But anyway, so there's the
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Get it together.
There's the pro blind faith message, right?
Yeah.
But then the people that are able to survive looking at the demons, Kyle, are borderline portrayed as nutjob evangelicals.
Oh, interesting.
No?
Yeah.
That's how they come across. That's my interpretation.
For sure, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, who else is like, I want this to happen? Essentially, I interpreted the nutjobs that can survive looking at demons as your rapture-wishing nutjob evangelicals. The ones that want the rapture to happen. Because they'll ride it out.
Point. Yeah.
So I found that fascinating. Point. I don't know if that's what the directors, or this is a book, by the way. It's probably a really bad read.
Interesting.
But this is a book. So I don't know if that was the original intent, but it could be, you can argue both ways. That's both pro and con religious.
When you said that it's a book, that always triggers for me, because there's a very easy way to see when something is lifted from a book and it's not done properly to make it seem realistic while they're like dialogue and while the situations and everything, because there's so much imagination that you can put into a book that you can kind of fill in those gaps for yourself too. Right. But especially dialogue and especially symbolism, if it's just taken from the pages and put on the screen, it always stands out more. So it's curious that you said that. Here's another interesting thing about this, since I have poked around a little bit online about people's reactions to it and everything. After the movie came out, right after it came out, like a day after or 2 days after, they started releasing visual effects stills and all of this extra content out on Twitter and out on the greater World Wide Web. And here is what I think the game plan is moving forward with anything like this. It's to sanitize whatever your product is to make sure that the most people are going to be happy about it as they can be. And then secondarily, release all of your extras and things that will contribute to the world building and might have been controversial or just ideas that people had, and to just throw all of that out there so then nobody can discern the product from the completed thing, from the ideas that they had. For instance, they were going to show all the demons in the movie, and they had visual effect shots. They were going to show the demons. They were going to do a sequence where, like, one of her greatest fears, a baby and being a parent, was going to come and be her demon that was, like, going to like come to her in dreams and things. So think about that. That was all planned, and that was all going to be done. They didn't do it, and then they release all that stuff anyway. And it's like, why? Because people are sitting there pissed off. I didn't get to see the demons, and I'm mad. So they need to know that there's demons. So then they pump it out there into the world to.
And it keeps it keeps the conversation going. It keeps it in the headlines and all that stuff.
It'll never leave.
If that's the new model, then I don't fucking care. I don't even have Netflix, so.
So here's the bottom line then, is James doesn't have Netflix, and you'll be the one that doesn't see the demons.
Yeah, I'm not, but I'm aware of the hype that he's saying anyway. The sketches got released and all that stuff. I was like, again, like, similar to the last episode, like, just fucking leave it in the past. Like, who cares? You watched it, it was So, I don't need the universe around it. I don't need everything explained.
But I had fun watching it.
Yeah, no, it was a fun watch, like gripping each other's knees and ooh, honey baby, keep me safe and all that stuff.
So Bird Box, give it a grade.
B-, but edging its way into C+ territory.
I'll give it a B- too.
Yeah,
that seems equitable.
It's getting a lot of hype. It's getting us to even talk about it. Not quite sure it deserves so much attention. Go see A Quiet Place. Way better.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And with that, we're out of time.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes. Loud on the Set with Kyle and James. Anywhere you find podcasts, we are there. Send us a mail if you want to chat about anything. loudontheset@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Go out and see some good movies and have a wonderful time.
See you later.
And cut.